Digital Ben back here once again for another Digital Den mini class. This is part 2 in the Intro to Cricut series. If you have not watched part 1, I highly recommend that you stop this video and you go back and watch the first one first. In that video, we talked about how to use the 7 basic tools on the Cricut design space. You can always click on the card in the top corner if you are watching this on YouTube or on our website, or you can always click on the playlist and go back and watch the previous video if you're watching on Facebook. This video is talking about the different materials to use and choosing the right material with your Cricut project. Not just talking about the different material options that you have, but also the materials that you can use to be able to make sure that your project is successful. So we are going to be doing a deep dive into the different types of stuff that you can use there for the Cricut, but we are also going to be jumping back into the Cricut design space and doing just a little bit of cutting today. Okay, first let's talk about a couple of different options for materials. This is your standard cardstock paper, of course. Everybody knows good old cardstock. That thick paper works perfectly with the Cricut. This right here is some sticky vinyl. This is great for making signs and all kinds of other fun creative projects that you can stick on any sort of material that can allow for you to have things stuck on it, right? And then, of course, this right here is some good old sticker paper, which is different from a sticky vinyl. And the reason why I wanted to show you this sticker paper is because on the back side here, there are some instructions on how to best use this. Namely, that this is something that you can only, if you're planning on printing using this sticker paper, that you would do so with an inkjet printer. It's super duper important that you always read the instructions on how to cut using the material that you are using, or whatever else you're doing with the project. If there's any instructions, make sure that you read that. And if there's no instructions on the material type that you are using, but you have some questions about it, you can always go to help.cricut.com to be able to get your answers for all sorts of different material questions that you have, as well as some other general questions on the Cricut. Okay, so that's some general material stuff. Obviously, there's no way I could go through the hundreds of different material options that you could use with the Cricut, but these are just a few examples. Let's talk about the adhesive mats. This is what you are going to use to make sure that your project doesn't slip and slide all over the place. There's different types of adhesion. There's standard, there is strong, there are fabric, and I'll show you a couple of those. These are just the standard mats right here. We have a couple of different ones. One of them is significantly dirtier than the other. I mean, sticky stuff just picks up hairs and dust and all kinds of stuff that might be floating around in your work area. And Cricut actually says that the typical adhesive mat only has a lifespan equal to the number of prints, like 50 cuts, for example, on your projects there. And this has been around for a long time. This one right here. But we still like to use it in instances where even the standard adhesion is a little too much. Like, for example, vinyl doesn't, the ones that we use anyway, doesn't really need a super strong adhesion to get it to stick and not slide all over the place. So this light adhesion works perfect for the vinyl. Okay, so we still can get some uses out of this even though it's lived past its standard life expectancy, right? This one right here is a fabric adhesive mat, great for cloth, cottons, well, whatever kind of fabric that you are using. This one is a strong adhesive mat, and sometimes on your instructions it might tell you that this is the type of adhesive mat that you need. Sometimes different types of iron-on has a really difficult time being able to stay on there. I've had patrons come in and use just the standard adhesive mat on some of their projects and then tape it down on top of that, whereas this might have actually worked a little bit better for that type of material. And then, of course, lastly, we have this light grip mat that is a really, really long one for those super massive projects that you will be cutting using the Cricut Maker. Okay, let me show you real quick just how you'll stick your material on here. We're going to be cutting today using some standard cardstock. Alrighty, a couple of different orientations that you can make if you've got a wide project, sitting it horizontally, landscape style like this, or portrait, vertical style like this. is better for those taller projects. Use your best judgment there. I'm going to go ahead and do it horizontally, and I'm going to go ahead and stick this on here, trying to measure with the ruler on here as best I can to be able to get everything on there, and then kind of running my hand on here to make sure that we are all nice and stuck on there like that. So it's not going to be going anywhere, nice and stuck on there, so that whatever we decide to cut today, we are going to be good to go on this cardstock paper right here. And what we're going to be using to cut, well, of course, the handy dandy Cricut Maker. Alrighty, obviously not plugged in, but just for demonstration purposes, I'll show you how it all works. We're going to lift the top panel area right here, and the front-facing panel is going to flip down just like that. This little cup right here, I'm not sure if you can see that with the angle of the camera. This is where you place all of your extra materials that you use to help get your project off of the adhesive mat. After you are finished using that, we'll be talking about those different tools in the next video. We have got various blade options that you can use here. This one's the fine blade that is currently installed on this one, but you would use a different blade if you're cutting on fabric or some other materials that would call for that. I'll touch a little bit more on the different blade options in a later portion of this video. Of course, this is just your standard workspace here. What we will do is we will take the adhesive pad with our material on it, and we will place it in front like this. There are a couple of hooks right here on the front. We got to make sure that our adhesive pad is underneath those hooks. And then what we're going to do is we're going to press this button right here, which is the button that has 2 arrows on it. Once I press that, it's going to suck this up in there in the right way that it needs to go in. This is going to run across and then back, and then it's going to say that we are ready to start cutting once I say so with our Cricut Design Space. Once I hit make it and follow the rest of the instructions there. Okay? The other buttons on here, you've got the power on button. If you are having some difficulty connecting to your Cricut Maker or another Cricut, you got to make sure that this is on and that it is plugged in to be able to make sure that you are connected. This one on the far side here, this is the pause button if you need to stop your print for any reason or your cut for any reason. If, say, for example, it's cutting beyond the border of what your material is, and we didn't really account for that. Might want to stop it so that we don't damage our adhesive mat. And then lastly, this button right here in the middle, this is your go button. It is the Cricut logo. It'll flash whenever it says you are ready to start cutting. We will press that and we will be good to go. All right, let's go ahead and jump back on into the Cricut Design Space, and I will show you how to go from your project to ready to go to start cutting. All right, everybody, we are back here on the Cricut Design Space, and as you can see, I've got a completely empty project. The t-shirt project that I was making in the previous video, I forgot to save, so we cannot cut that today. But that's okay. As I mentioned in the last video, all you can do is, or you can just click on projects, and there are hundreds of different things that you can make all there for free. We're going to make sure that we select only the free options so that I don't accidentally try to have to pay for something. We'll just click on this first one right here and click customize. All right, we are off to the races, ready to start cutting this school stuff project. I'm going to go ahead and click Make It here in the top right-hand corner, and that is going to bring us up to the next stage, which is called the Prepare portion of the Cricut Design Space. A few different options over here. You actually don't have to worry about a couple of these a lot. Like, for example, the project copies. You can select the amount of copies that you want to make, but if you leave it at 1 and then you want more, you can just hit the Go button again once you've reloaded the Cricut Maker with more material, and it'll just keep cutting it again. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. The material size here, it's just a suggestion. As earlier in the video, I stuck on some standard letter sized cardstock paper on there, which is obviously smaller than 12 by 12. But that material covers much more than what I need to be able to cut this design. So I'm not going to worry about that too much. I can mirror it if I would like. And if you're cutting on iron-on, you got to make sure you read those instructions. I said that again. Read those instructions, especially for iron-on, to see if you need to mirror what you are going to be cutting or not. Okay. And other materials, you may need to mirror that as well. And you'll use that function here on the left for that. I can adjust the orientation of whatever on here to be able to make sure that it fits the material. Say, for example, you've used this material in the past and it's got holes in it and stuff. You can always drag and drop it over to an area where you know that there's material to be able to get the most out of whatever you're going to be cutting on, to be able to make sure that we can not be wasteful, right? All right, I'm just going to leave it up here in the top corner, and then I'm going to click on continue because I'm ready to start cutting. Right here, it connected to our Cricut Maker, but if it didn't, as I mentioned earlier in the video, it could be that your Cricut is turned off or not plugged in. So if for whatever reason it's still not connecting, try restarting your Cricut Maker and it should connect properly there for you. Here in the next section under the Make portion of the Cricut design space, it says set base material. And there's a whole bunch of different options that are what they believe are the most common choices for what to cut on. We cut with cardstock and vinyl here the most here in the Digital Den, but we also cut on iron-on fairly regularly, as well as some other random materials. And if you've got a more obscure material that is not featured here on the popular side, you can click on Browse All Materials and you can search for it, or you can just scroll through and try to find whatever the material that you are going to be wanting to cut on there. And it's important to select the right one and not just go, medium cardstock is fine for everything. Because, say, for example, I'm cutting on cotton, I'm going to need to use a rotary blade instead of the fine blade that I would use for a cardstock. And it's important that you use the right blade for the right material so that you don't tear up your material and ruin your project, right? So I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel to be able to go back. I'm going to click continue again. It's going to reconnect to our maker. I'm going to click on cardstock because that is what we're using. It says load the fine point blade that's already loaded in there for us. And then it says to push this up and down arrow button. I'm going to go ahead and press that and then jump back over here. All righty. And it says press go. As I mentioned, the Cricut logo is the go button. I'm going to go ahead and press that. All righty. It is currently detecting everything there, and it is going to go ahead and start cutting. Your project, depending on the amount of things that you have on there, will take longer or shorter to be able to cut. If like I've seen people fill an entire 12 by 12 sheet with stuff to be able to maximize the efficiency and use all of the material all at once. But that can take like 10 minutes to cut on there. So just make sure that you leave your Cricut design space up and you do not cancel it out by clicking the cancel button here or the X in the top corner, because that will immediately stop your project from cutting completely and it will not cut properly. As you can see, though, I'm already almost done here. I'm about 2/3, now 3/4 of the way done with this project. Any minute we will be done. There we go. It is now pushing the material out of there. I've got to press that arrow, the up and down arrow button again to be able to get it to spit out the project the rest of the way. All right, and as you can see, I have cut the project. Wow, you cannot see that well at all. I can start peeling off a little bit of it so that you can kind of see that the cut has been made. This looks pretty good. It's ready to go. Here, I'll pull off the S here so that you can see that. Yeah. So I will be pulling off the rest of this and kind of showing you the different materials or the different tools that you can use to be able to make sure that you get everything off of the adhesive mat properly in the next video. So make sure that you come on back again next week on Monday at 6 p.m. so that you can see the conclusion of the Intro to Cricut series. We'll be talking about how to print and then cut using using the Cricut Maker, and then of course going over those different tools for making sure that your project is successful. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any other questions about the Cricut in the meantime, make sure that you stop on by the Digital Den anytime during our open hours. You can always email me or call me as well, and we'll try to see if we can make those projects work for you. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.